on lowering your cholesterol with some foods. And I'll get to that in a second. Or let's maybe think about even a statin medication. And the only reason why you would have a statin medication is if you're not able to lower it. There's maybe less than 5% of the people that should have it on a preventative basis. Everyone else should be focusing on lowering inflammation through everything else. So what causes inflammation? Let's talk about step number 3. Oxidative stress. What are some things that are oxidative stress to our body? What are some things that cause inflammation in our body?
Sunshine.
Sunshine, in a way. What else?
Sugar.
Sugar? Ooh, that's a big one. I like that. Anything else?
Alcohol.
Alcohol? Excessively, yes.
Pollution.
Pollution, there we go. So smoking, pollution will cause that stress, those cuts. Remember, we're looking at what's going to cut that inside of the arterial wall. Just like I was talking about cutting the outside of your finger, you can cut the inside of your arteries. And how you can do that, a big one is really sugar. And I'll get to that in a second, is when you have high circulating blood sugar in your body, think of them as sugar particles. They kind of attack the arterial wall and causes that inflammatory response. And then if you're smoking, or if you're around pollution. I had a heart patient last year. He was a race car driver. Fit, super fit, exercised every day, race car driver. Ended up with a heart attack. Why? Probably, doctor telling him, well, this is an anomaly. Well, most likely it's because he was spent most of his life behind the exhaust of his car. So you got to watch out for these things. Pollution, even sitting around in everyday traffic. Smoking. Some other ones that can cause inflammatory response is lack of sleep. If you're not sleeping well, you're going to cause an inflammatory response. And, you know, for me, I got 2 young boys, one just over 2, and I'm not getting much sleep. So, unfortunately, I lack in that category. But nevertheless, it's important to get that sleep. That's where the good things or the adaptations to what you do good actually change. So sleep is very, very important. And if you're not getting enough, it's going to cause that inflammatory response. So we talked about blood sugar as well. And that's a huge one. It causes that inflammatory response. What about just stress on its own? Stress causes that inflammatory response too. What happens when you get stressed? What happens when you get stressed? I heard a little bit about it.
Either you overeat or you don't eat.
You overeat, okay. What else?
Blood pressure.
Your blood pressure goes up. What else happens?
Cortisol level?
Cortisol, yeah, hormones go up, absolutely. Heart rate goes up, and your blood sugar goes up, so from the hormones. So I talked about the effects of having high blood sugar. It attacks the arterial wall. Heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up when you have a stressful response. And, you know, that ends up putting a stress and causes that inflammatory response in our arteries. And we as humans are funny people. We handle stress a little bit differently. It takes me to a story. There was this guy who was late for work, woke up late, you know, didn't have a chance to even shower in the morning. He woke up late, reversed out of the driveway, and he was in a big rush. You know, slammed on his accelerator, went around the corner, and then slammed on his brake and almost swerved off the road because he almost hit this dog. Now, imagine that. Just imagine that. You're coming around the corner and you have to slam on your brakes, and this dog is in your way. So he stopped, managed to not hit the dog, and what happened during that time? His heart rate went up, his blood pressure went up, his blood sugar went up. And so, you know, and the dog, same idea. His heart rate goes up, and his blood sugar goes up, and his, you know, heart rate, blood pressure, blood sugar all go up. Now, he goes around the corner, and this guy continues on and goes to the traffic light, and, you know, he's like, geez, I almost died, I almost hit out of the car. Again, his heart rate goes up, his blood pressure goes up, and his blood sugar goes up, and then gets into the office, and same thing happens. He tells his colleagues, you won't believe what happened to me this morning. I almost died, I swerved off the road. And again, his heart rate goes up, and his blood pressure goes up, and his blood sugar goes up. And then, you know, same thing happens when he comes back home. He sees that spot, and he goes, geez, that spot, where's that dog? You know, and comes back to his wife and tells the same story, and his heart rate goes up, and his blood pressure goes up, and his blood sugar goes up, and the point is that it just goes higher and higher. In the meantime, that dog had his heart rate go up, and his blood pressure go up, and his blood sugar go up, but that's it. So the moral of the story is really be the dog. And so we as humans, we overanalyze things. We take things to the next level, and it's very important. I can't stress this enough. Everyone has stress in their life. Some people are not sleeping because their kids get up in the night. Sometimes traffic is bothering you. You can't, sometimes things are out of your control and you're going to have a reaction. That's going to happen. That's just life. But it's important on how you can cope with that stress mechanism. What happens is you make sure you bring that back down so you're not feeling that stressful response, not feeling that hard effect on our arterial walls. Because it's okay. We're going to have adrenaline responses when things happen when we got to slam on our brakes. That happens. That's just life. But you want to make sure that you don't let it go further than that. Be the dog. It's a very important Zen lesson. So that's oxidative stress. And if I were to think about all those different types of things that cause inflammation, we know now that heart disease is an inflammatory disease. It's not caused from cholesterol. And I think all our focus, and you watch over the next few years, it's going to take cholesterol and kind of put it aside. What's really the cause of heart disease is high sugar. And when we think about it, it's the cause of a lot of inflammatory responses that happen all over our body. And so if I were to pick diets, although I don't necessarily like that word, it's really about focusing on ways of living. So that's my next step. It's really talking about what foods should you eat to prevent or even reverse heart disease. What are some diets out there that we've heard about for heart disease? DASH diet, yes. Anything else? Sorry? Okinawa, no. What about one? I'm looking at one for heart disease, one that promotes red wine. Mediterranean. There we go. So we got a lot of ways of eating. So I'm going to give you a little research study that was done. They did this study in Europe, and what they did is they compared 3 different ways of eating diets. We had the low-fat diet. We've heard about Bill Clinton having a heart attack, yes? And how he's had this different diet. So we have the low-fat diet. We have the Mediterranean diet. And then we also have a low-carbohydrate diet. There's ways of eating. And what they did is they measured their carotid thickness. So they measured the thickness of the carotid artery, and they measured it over a 2-year span. And what they found, using those 3 diets, what they found is that after 2 years, whatever diet that person was on, they actually found a significant decrease in their carotid thickness, which is a good thing. A significant decrease or reversal in heart disease or arterial disease. And it did not matter which diet you were on or which way you were eating. That's the funny part, is that it didn't matter. There was no significant difference between the Mediterranean diet, to the low-carbohydrate diet, to the low-fat diet. But what was significant across the board there was vegetables, if we think about it being a pyramid, was the basic support of all those diets. Anti-inflammatory foods, foods that are high in anti-inflammatory foods are very, very important. Lots of green vegetables, different colored vegetables are all anti-inflammatory in nature. It involves a lot of that. And then the other diets differ ever so slightly, but another common thread between them is that they were all natural. They were foods that you can buy naturally. And it does bug me when I see commercials and people are jumping off bridges and they're saying they lowered their cholesterol. It just doesn't make sense. It's not the right way of thinking about that. We know that focusing on foods, if things have to advertise to you, let me put it this way, this is my rule of thumb and I tell all my patients when they come to the clinic. If foods have to advertise to you about their benefits, more than likely they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're processed. I never see the fruits and vegetables advertised to you and say, hey, come over here, high five, or, come over here, lower your cholesterol. It's not about that. It's about what foods are going to be anti-inflammatory in nature. And so that's very important. And yes, there's some benefits to alcohol, but there's some really harsh benefits once you start to abuse alcohol. And I'm not asking people to start to drink because there are benefits, heart health benefits. I'm letting you know, yes, it's okay to have alcohol. But as soon as you go over that, as soon as you go over 1 or 2 drinks a day, then it starts to put an effect on our arterial walls. It starts to increase things in a inflammatory nature. And unfortunately, we can't bring them all to the weekend and have them then. It just doesn't work that way. So it's very important to understand that. And like I said, the diets or way of eating, you want to focus on all natural foods. Whatever way you decide to eat, all natural, abundance of fruits and vegetables. Those are very, very important things to lower inflammatory response. And in my opinion, again, going back to that study, what happened was people lost the weight, whatever diet that they actually focused on, and they lowered the blood pressure. And so that was a significant result then of lowering or reversing the disease health in the arterial wall. So number 5, am I right in saying that? So number 5, I know we like to turn our heads to this, but we've already talked a little bit about it with Natasha, is sexual dysfunction. And if you were to see your doctor and tell him, look, I'm having some problems in that area, they might give you a pill and you might jump all happy and wake up the next morning and out of the house and jump through elevators all smiles. However, it is an actual big marker for heart disease. The arteries going to your sexual organs are smaller than the arteries going to your heart. And if you have erectile dysfunction or a sexual dysfunction, that's actually a pre-marker for heart disease. So it can't be solved with a pill. You've got to get to the root of the problem. And it's very important to understand that side of things. Number 6 is when if we know that heart disease is an inflammatory disease, I think it's very important to make sure that you understand inflammatory markers for heart disease. And there are many, many of them out there. And just some common ones I like to quickly say is that if you have or are at risk of heart disease, it's important to know the inflammatory markers. So a quick one is mouth health. Now before I go further into that, what you put in your mouth is very important. We discussed that already. But it's also very important to understand that 90% of all diseases start coming through from your digestive system. So it's very important to understand that aspect of it. And you're more than 2 to 3 more times likely that if you have inflammation going on inside your mouth, you're more likely to have inflammation going on inside your arteries of your heart. So a quick way you can test for mouth health. The first one is flossing your teeth. I hope everyone flosses their teeth. It's a very important thing to get done, and a quick way to check if you have inflammation. So if you were to take a floss and you were flossing your teeth and it starts to bleed, that's inflammation. That's the early signs of inflammation. So make sure you floss your teeth daily. Make sure you brush your teeth a few times a day, and make sure you use a mouth rinse. Those are some quick ways to keep your mouth health at optimum. And of course, see your dentist often. It's a very important thing to get done. Make sure that your mouth health is in order. The next one I think is a simple blood test that you can get done that can look at inflammation, and that's called the HSCRP, which is high sensitivity C-reactive protein. And it's a quick test that you get done at your doctor's office. It costs money either way, wherever you end up going to our clinic or at a doctor's office. Unfortunately, don't get me started on that side of things. We're a good sick care system, not a preventative care system. And that's why I think what Natasha went into, why she does what she does. Now she can take control of people's health before problems happen. But nevertheless, you can get that test done. It's a quick inflammation marker to see what your risk is of heart disease. And it's a great marker, in my opinion, to just see where you are in addition to your cholesterol. So if you get your cholesterol checked, remember that's not enough. And you might have high cholesterol and you may be told that you have to go on a statin. Well, it's a good idea to look at this inflammatory marker to see what's going on as well. And the third test I think is very important is to get your carotid arteries checked. I talked to you guys earlier about how even if you saw a cardiologist and they went and did a stress test with you and an echocardiogram with you and you got a clean bill of health, that doesn't give you an idea to go out and eat all the cookies and cakes all you want to and all the sugar you want to. It's not a license to that. It's understanding really where you are on the path and looking at inside your arterial walls. You're able to measure the thickness of the first 2 layers of the arterial wall and see what your risk is of a heart attack or stroke. So those are important inflammatory markers to understand where you are in terms for heart disease. Now, we do those tests in our clinic, and those are things that we do in our clinic, and be happy to help you out with that side of things. But I think the most important step of everything, aside from everything that I just finished telling you, is really setting the right mindset. And I think it's very important that if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So I know we all have good intentions in life, but good intentions are only half of it. It's important to understand the other aspect of it too. And so having good goal setting is very important. Understanding how do you achieve a goal and how do you achieve what you're trying to achieve is very important. So that's one aspect of it. And then it's also setting the right attitude and going forward with that. Happiness is very important. Relationships are very important. And things to think about is who are you to the loved ones in your life. Those are very important things. And it all comes back to mindset and to having and setting the right attitude to beat heart disease. I think the first thing and why people become so successful in our clinic is because they actually think they can do it. And that's such an important thing. If you don't have the right mindset, it causes anxiety, it causes depression. And many times, we take a moment in time, we're kind of worried about what's going on in the future. And we're concerned about, what's going on in the past. We're not really focused on the present moment of what we have to do to get to what we want to try and achieve. So you can't control what you can do in the future, and you can't control what's in the past, but you can focus on the now, and it's really important to focus on how and setting the right mindset to prevent and reverse heart disease. So in our clinic, with the Heart Fit Clinic, like I said, we see people who have heart disease or the risk of developing heart disease, and we develop lifestyle programs to help them live happier, healthier, and longer. And we focus on, obviously, on anti-inflammatory things so that you can do that. We focus on exercise programs, kind of like having a clinical personal trainer. That's the best way I can explain that aspect of it. We will monitor blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen levels, ECG levels, and make sure we see safe levels of exercise so people can do things safely and effectively. We focus on eating healthy nutrition, focusing on what foods you are eating, and we really don't focus on one type of diet. We really focus on what foods you should be focusing on to lower and use the food as anti-inflammatory. And we also focus on stress management with yoga programs or meditation programs that we have. So those are really the 3 important pillars of heart disease. And I'm in the process of writing my book, and it's actually talks about the 5 things that I think are very important for preventing and reversing heart disease. And like I said, I've been involved with heart health for the last 15 years, and you kind of go things by the book in the first few years, and then you kind of come up with your own solutions to how we do it. And I think a lot of things are missing in preventing and reversing a disease process. And so my 5 pillars actually comes from a safari that I went on. I don't know if you heard the safaris when you go to the Big 5 and you're trying to find the Big 5 for a safari. So I went on a safari, it was in 2005, and correct me if I'm wrong, all the Big 5. So there's the lion, the elephant, the buffalo, rhinoceros, and the leopard. So there you go, the Big 5. So I have my Big 5 for preventing heart disease and reversing heart disease. And the first one being exercise. I think exercise is medicine. It truly is. If you were to bundle up in the form of a pill, it would be the most prescribed pill in the whole world. It has that many benefits. And if you were to only do one of them, I think it's very important because it has an encompassing effect on all your risk factors to heart disease. There's a shotgun approach to all your risk factors to heart disease. My second one of the Big 5 is really focusing on nutrition. I talked about that already, focusing on foods that are anti-inflammatory in nature. Third one is stress management. I think when we talk about heart disease, does anyone have a family history of heart disease? Okay. It only accounts for 5%, less than 5% of actual of heart diseases. We talk about 55% maybe that we can account for, but 45% is kind of unknown. And I think it really comes down to stress. We can't really measure stress. We can't say, you know, Darby, you come to my office and, you know, we've got to get you down to that 5. You know, 5 out of 10 is really good. Well, how can you control that, right? And so stress is a really unknown risk factor. It's hard to put a number on it. Yeah, we got scales and we can do things and all that stuff, but stress is such an important thing. And I think it's a risk factor that we can't really focus on or control. And the third one, I think is very important, is relationships. And having loved ones and friends around you are very important, especially in preventing the disease process. Having that social aspect to your life, having loved ones come to you. Like I said, like, a good question to ask yourself is, who are you to the loved ones in your life? You know, when you open the door, they all jump in your arms and hug you, or they're like, you know, oh, he's home. Actually, that's where my wife is when she hasn't slept, but anyway, that's another story. But yeah, it's a very important thing to understand, and I think relationships is very important and ignored. And the last one is, like I said, is setting the right mindset. So I'd like to thank you for sticking around later in the evening and hear me speak on heart disease and heart disease prevention. And what I'd like to offer you, I think I have some sheets, I don't know how many I have left, but I have an offer of some books available. If you want a copy of one of the books I've written, I'd be happy to give that to you. Just come see me afterwards and you can just fill that out. I just need your name, email, and phone is fine on the form there, and then we can go from there. Excellent, yeah.
I can hand these out to anyone who's interested in them.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
Anyone
If anyone wants one, just put up your hand and I can go around and Natasha will get one out there. And if there's not enough copies, then I will get your email and name and all that and take it with me. So thank you very much for hearing me speak today. Do I have any questions at all?
I have some comments actually.
Thank you.
Just want to get to the money.
May I come up next to you?
Absolutely.
I was making notes actually while you were speaking, so thank you for such a wonderful, wonderful overview. And what I love, and I actually wrote bravo, mindset. And I think, you know, to have such a refreshing view, the opportunity to work with someone like Diamond gives you an opportunity to actually do something different because you'll see what you need to do. You know, and I noticed that some of you were thinking, you're going to go home, sit on the couch and really think about whether you want to take that next step or not. Some of you weren't sure if you actually wanted to do anything. And that's okay because that's where you are. But remember, it's your mindset that puts you there. And you have every power to change your mindset. So I love that Diamond's implementing that. I've had patients go to do the test that he offers. And I can tell you for sure, it's amazing. So if you do nothing else, if you don't even know if you want to make any changes, and you go to his clinic and you get that test, then you have every opportunity to see whether sitting on your ass doing nothing is an option for you or not. Does that make sense? So I really urge you to sign up for this newsletter, and I ran out of forms so quickly, so maybe just give us permission to have him email you through your draw entries, and if you've left your email address, otherwise start writing them down for Diamond to send you this book, because it is something fantastic. So I highly, highly recommend you don't just get his book, but book an appointment at the clinic there. There is a study actually done on women with stress, and yes, you can't measure the stress, but you can measure the circumstances. And we found that people under stress have the highest incidence of heart attacks with normal cholesterol. Which is very fascinating. So I thought I should know that, and that's why he's the expert in this field, because he knows that it doesn't matter what your cholesterol is. Then question for you, You mentioned particle size LDLs, and you said you get tested. Do you send that out, or do you do it in your clinic?
No, we unfortunately don't do the testing of LDL cholesterols and stuff like that. So we do test LDL cholesterol, but we don't go into the specifics of that side of things. So we do measure HSCRP for inflammatory responses, that type of thing. At the end of the day, you can have small and large LDL particles floating around your bloodstream, and it won't do any problems until you get that inflammatory response.
Yeah.
And I think doctors are too quick on the gun to look at cholesterol-lowering mechanisms and say, don't eat foods that lower your cholesterol. That's the wrong way of actually thinking about it. Because it's really what causes a high cholesterol in your body is an inflammatory response. And so your liver starts to produce more cholesterol to combat an inflammatory response. But most times it's not enough. And that's why, as you mentioned, over 50% of heart attacks occur with people with normal cholesterol profiles. So it's not cholesterol that is the actual problem.
It's not.
So,
and that's what I love that you made. So did everybody get that message? That there's so many things you have to do to prevent a heart attack, because 1 in 7 of you are going to get one whether you like it or not. If you stay sitting on your ass, doing nothing different from this point forward. And actually, I focus on HSCRP and the ApoA and B as part of our standard panel for everyone. So thank you for bringing that.
And for just a quick explanation of that, ApoB is actually the carrier for the bad cholesterol when it gets oxidized. So that's why it's an important test to get done. So.
Yeah, we share a lot of patients, really, and we should be sharing way more. So I think he's wonderful. I think what he's doing for you and what he offers you is incredible. And I highly recommend that if you don't get one of his pages, that you make sure he has your contact information, and even just go by and see his clinic.
Yeah,
that's just me pushing you to go do something. I will show you what you need to do next. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and our clinic, we have the one clinic now, and we're at Trico Center in South Calgary, right across South Center Mall. So for those of you who are taking notes, it's just heartfit.ca. And for those of you who have not got our book, just come see me, or that sheet of paper, just come see me. I'll grab your email, and I'll send it to you.
I have a thought. If there's someone at each table that has one, then maybe flip it around and everybody write your names and email addresses behind it, and then all of you get it. It's just by email. What do you think?
Yeah, that works fine.
Yeah. And by the way, Diamond and I are both on Facebook. I post almost every day. This morning, my son did a video for everyone on quinoa.
Wow.
And he does, I didn't even know he knew this. He said, and by the way, eating anything that comes out of a box is bad for you, because don't you know it had to go to a factory and they have to add chemicals to it, and it can't be good for you.
No.
So an 8-year-old posted that on Facebook this morning.
A lot of things that are processed that we don't really know about. So.
That's right. So as you said, eat whole food, eat food that comes in its natural form, and start lowering your risk. So Fred has a draw, so I think somebody's waiting.
I have one question over there. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick one. Do we need to have a referral from our family physician to go here?
No, we're a paramedical clinic, so we're cardiac nurses and physiologists and that type of thing. So we don't necessarily require a referral, so we'll take you on a non-referral basis. Yeah.
First come, first served, so go quick. Go to heartfit.ca. And our website, actually, which I didn't put up or anything, I didn't even hand out business cards. I was so not interested in finding out who you are. No, I just didn't think about it, but Melissa has business cards, and she also does have that gift that if you want to attend a workshop at our clinic at no cost to you, how many of you would be interested in that? One of our teaching workshops? Okay, thank you. So then just please go see Melissa and she'll book you in. Melissa at the back there. And Fred, if you want to bring that, Diamond and I will, are we doing 1, 2, or 3 draws?
We're actually doing one draw plus you have your good certificates, right?
Oh, I thought they all go together, so it's not one lucky person, it's like 3 people. Okay. You do that one.
Alright, so let's just pick.
Who wants me to pick them? Just put up your hand. I've got a few people that haven't put up their hands, so we'll see. There we go. Mr. Wes Mummer. Congratulations, Wes.
Oh, right on.
Well done.
Is that for the gift basket?
Yeah, it's for the gift
Oh,
basket.
fantastic. Look at that. I
Oh,
hope
so
it's all
happy.
heart-healthy stuff in there.
Well, there you go. Actually, I'll give this back to you here. So.
And then the next one would be...
Okay, So this is a draw for $250 toward the healthy living assessment and program that we have at our clinic, and that would allow you.
Should we throw Wes back in there? No.
He's gonna win again.
Is he that lucky? You know you can create your luck, eh? I shared something on my Facebook page about that.
Yeah.
There's a psychologist who did studies and talked about being lucky. So really you should friend me on Facebook. There's some pretty cool things there. And he's got really fantastic things. And Ken Ross, who are you? Ken Ross. I think I picked on you for a reason. So you have $250 towards that
Is anyone on Facebook at
assessment.
all?
I just need you to see Melissa to put your contact information down so we have that. And then there's another 200. Who else wants $250? Okay. So now I didn't mention this because I just really want you to think I'm 25 years old. But our whole center helps you feel, look, and live younger. And the look younger is a whole array of services that erase the last 10 years. So how many of you would be interested? Who wants to win something that will get the last 10 years off of you? All right, let's see who you are. Ken. Who is Ken? No, sorry. This is Ken I can't read it. Sorry, it's in red. Oh, here you are. Can you get to look 10 years younger with... So Thermage is a non-surgical, no downtime, skin tightening procedure that erases lines, lifts and tightens and refreshes your look. I guess you've got one lucky wife.
Excellent.
Well, a lot of men do that too. But Thermage is something, the information's on the website, but now we have one lucky person who gets at that. Anything else to draw? No?
So I think one thing I'll say is that Natasha's on Facebook and I'm on Facebook. I post a few comments a day about some different sightings that I find, and we do. I do a lot on Twitter as well. So if you're interested in just some really, I blog every week, and it's kind of a religious thing I do. Especially when you're trying to write a book, you're trying to do that thing, so those little things like that. So if you want to definitely follow us,
And a
Natasha
2-year-old
does.
to boot.
Yeah, 2-year-old is a little cute kid there, so. And my 9-month-old is a really fun kid. And he's just starting to sleep through the night. I think 2 nights in a row we got, so he went from 7 to 5, which is always a nice thing. But anyway, nevertheless.
Yes, Facebook gets under, you're Hartford or Diamond?
I'm
Diamond
Diamond Fernandez or Heartfit Clinic, whatever one you want to search for. I post, I don't post much personal things, I guess. Maybe a little
I
family
do a
picture
bit
once
of
in a while.
both. You get to
Yeah.
see my kitchen under renovation, you get to watch how we're cooking, you get to see my kids and what they eat for breakfast. It's really cool, I think, but that's because they're my kids and I think they're so cool. But also, current research, news, all of that goes on Facebook under Natasha Iyer or Better Metabolism. Now, there's slightly different information going on each of them, but you can like them both and follow them. So it'd be wonderful to add you to our community because we have a pretty good community happening here. And a lot of the work and the people that share our communities are into mindset. So it's really nice that you mentioned the Facebook thing because there's so many posts every day on how we think, how we perceive things, how we believe.
Yeah, I mean, if you think just a simple thing of driving down the road and you're looking off to the right, you see a sign, sometimes you veer off that way. So if you keep your focus in life on a path that you want to go to, then you'll achieve it. I mean, it's just a fact. If you want to be healthy, if you want to lose weight, if you want to try and reverse a disease process, whatever it is, if you got I'm a big believer in intentions and what you're trying to do, and I can talk all day long about that side of things, but really keep your focus on what your goal is where you want to go, and you'll get there. The universe has a funny way of trying to get you there. So.
Love it. And now I have to say thank you to someone very special who's standing right here, because without him, this event would not have been possible. I certainly didn't think about doing an event, and I don't think that was on your horizon either. So I really want to honor Frederick. I want to honor his team as well, because I can tell you they put a lot of work into this and had to deal with me on top of all of that. And at the end of the day, I want to honor all of you for staying, for participating, because that shows a level of commitment, don't you think?
80% is showing up.
And you know that there were people on the guest list who didn't show up. So obviously you've already got something special. You've got a foot in the door of the rest of your life. And from my heart, I thank you. From my heart, I hope that when you leave today, all this doesn't go out the other ear, and that you take some steps, some action, even if it's just following us on Facebook and keeping up with what's happening. So thank you very much.
Okay, guys, before we wrap up, I just wanted to thank again Dr. Natasha. Can we get a hand to Dr. Natasha? To be here and to talk to us about her stuff. And can we also give a hand to Diamond Fernandez? Events like this is important, especially for me as a financial planner. Again, I only deal with money and all of that stuff, but again, I can't stress this enough that it's important that you not only take care of your financial affairs, but you also look into your health. Because again, one friend of mine commented, says, hey, Frederick, I really don't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard, right? And it just struck me, right? So events like this, I think it's really cool. So we're probably going to be doing this twice a year. We'll send more invites for different, subjects.
What that means is to get your friends and family and people. Have you any of you found this really a good evening?
Yeah.
How many of you would come to something like this again? And how many of you would love to bring friends to this? Okay, perfect. I have an idea here because I know how we should do this. We sent out a pile of emails and Facebook posts, and they really didn't get a whole lot of attention. And either we sent out the wrong message. It took me inviting personally to have people show up here. So what I beg of you, is there 5 people in this room who would be brave enough to go see Bill and Melissa with the video cameras? And what I ask of you is this: who am I? What do I do? Maybe how old you are, I'm just 25, and what did you get out of this event, and why should they come? Just take 1 minute. It will take you a minute, I promise, to say that into a video. And if you're shy, I'll actually hold a piece of paper in front of you as long as it's a real voice. Because the power of video, I just found out on Facebook, is that 233 people watched my kid on the Better Metabolism page. I had only 100 friends. So more than double of that got seen because it was a video. And yet every post that I put with writing has about 60 views. So the power of video is incredible. Is there anyone who wants to just tell me, what did you get out of this? What did you get out of this evening? He shared with you some things that were mind-blowing, I'm sure of this. But what was it that was most valuable?
The knowledge.
The knowledge? But was it something like, could it have been something like he told you something completely opposite to what your doctor tells you?
No, for me it was like, I think the information that leads to a happy.
Did your doctor ever tell you that?
I always thought it's cholesterol.
Well, this doctor would tell you that, he would tell you that, but nobody else would, right? So who would be brave enough to go see Bill, go to that camera and say, oh my God, I learned something here that I didn't know, and going to the doctor didn't tell me that, so please come. That's it. How hard is it? So please go to Bill, do that for us, and we'll put it on our pages, and then we can get people at events like this to learn more. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
I'll take the forms here if you guys can
Just say yes.
Take care, it's a pleasure.
They installed They tested it thoroughly. They took out most of
I know you're in the warhead exercise. Warhead. When you go to the warhead, you look out. We have exercise in the warhead is
So, just to side, George, I'm just going to take that picture, let me come back. The voice over on the No, she's going to she have that in the back.
on that picture.
I know, but,
I do.